Well, I want to thank you, and we love the country. The country's in trouble. It's got to be solved fairly quickly.
Yes.
There is no choice but to solve the problem, but it's a big problem. It's a big problem, and I hope it continues forward, and we love Israel, and we hope everything's going to be okay.
Sure.
A lot of good moves have to be made, or it's not going to be okay, and we say God bless you and good luck. John, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for this time.
Greetings, friends. It's Monday, September 19th. Chapo coming at you to kick off this week. Keep it brief up at the top of the show, but you already know tickets still available for our fall tour. Chicago, LA, New York, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Basically every Saturday in October. Tickets available at chapotraphouse.com/live. So, without further ado, it's me, Will Menaker, joined as always by Matt and Felix. But our guest today is the host of the podcast, Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. It is the legend, Tom Myers. Tom, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Tom, where are you calling into us from today?
I am from the great state of Maryland. A few people who might be listening to hear me might know that I do a few things in that state. So, but yeah, it's a magical, wonderful little place, and I talk about it so greatly in my act with all the love and affection that people who live here usually do.
Is it Tom Myers versus the rest of the state of Maryland sometimes?
Versus the rest of the state of Maryland, Tom Myers versus his own cat sometimes. So he may be meowing at some point during the podcast. Like, I just fed him, so he should be fine. But he may make a cameo appearance here.
That would be wonderful.
You have have you had the same cat for a while?
Yeah, I've had him for 14 years now.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
the older they get, the more they verbalize.
I've definitely found that to be true. But he still acts like a kitten, so I'm enjoying every single moment I have with him.
I gotta ask, what's the name of your cat?
Buddy.
Buddy? Okay.
Yeah.
I have 4 cats. Actually, none of them are in the room I'm recording in right now, which is a rarity. But often, my main cat Marty, I don't know if Buddy will do this to you. He will often stand over a full bowl of food and look at me and ask for more food. They're very particular, these felines.
Mine will sniff whatever I have, like if it's a sandwich or a slice of pizza or something, and then he'll do something similar to that.
Okay, cat talk. We can table that. We can table that for now.
That's for the Patreon folks.
Yeah. I'll be the cat mini series will be coming later, but let's just get into it for the week in the news, and I suppose. Okay, so I think the big media story over the weekend was essentially the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sort of like chartering a plane and tricking a group of migrants into getting on the plane and sending them to Martha's Vineyard as sort of a media stunt to attack what they regard as like the hypocrisy of liberal states who are not on the border, and they think that hey, if we can just dump these asylum seekers there, it'll make some point about liberal hypocrisy. So I mean, look, we've talked before about Ron DeSantis is he loves playing to the media hits, and he loves going to the sort of culture war well to sort of gin up these media moments. But I guess with this one, my question is what was the ideal thing he was hoping was going to happen here? That they would just put these migrants in a catapult and just shoot them off the island? Or I don't know. What did you guys make of the whole DeSantis Martha's Vineyard thing? Was he just trying to get someone who could hang out with Alan Dershowitz? Just 50 people who've, never heard of him before, who wants to hear his talk at the library? I don't know. What's going on with this?
Well, I think it sounds like it was almost as if DeSantis was thinking, boy, I'll go ahead and show these illegals who want to come in here. We'll go ahead and have them leave Florida which has a dubious reputation already for Florida man and semi-fascist government, and we'll send it to this place called Martha's Vineyard, where they'll be treated nice and with compassion. Yeah, that'll teach them to come in here. And there's just so much of a disconnect between, I think, what DeSantis wanted to have happen and what may actually happen. It's just it baffles me that people like him and Governor Abbott in Texas think like that this will solve the immigration problem.
They were actually sent from San Antonio. They weren't even in Florida. It was, I think, just the DeSantis government. They just they were the ones that
they paid for it. I think.
Yeah, they paid for it. They chartered a plane, and they were sort of entreated to come on the plane with sort of promises of, I don't know, jobs or help or something, and then they ended up in Martha's Vineyard.
DeSantis, I don't know, he seems to have a similar problem that Tom Cotton or Josh Holloway or any of those guys, any of the guys running to take over the Trump lane if Trump is incapacitated in some way, right? That there is an internet-y stench on them, so to speak. It's like if Katie Porter was trying to run for the Democratic nomination now. There are all these things that excite, the national conservative think tank circuit in DC. This is probably something they've posted about. This is probably a going meme for them for the past 2 years. Send the illegals to Martha's Vineyard. And it seemed like it didn't actually excite anyone in the base. And it sort of went off with a thud. I mean, it would be one thing if, they called private security and turned them away or fucking deported them the moment they got there. But they were prepared to at least have the appearance of not doing that, right? I know that one group set them up in a church and put them on cots, which is, an interesting thing to do in a place with a lot of vacant homes, but it's better than nothing, I guess. It didn't seem to do what he wanted it to do. And that's one thing. They're not all going to be hits, but that's sort of DeSantis' only thing, right? Is doing fucking executive actions and things that fit the conservative thing of the week.
I think he basically did get what he wanted to get out of it. Just the fact that no one's, it seems like it's already over, but I think what he got out of it was the headline in the New York Post about illegals, sent to Cape Cod. I don't know, did you see the Liz Smith thing where she was just oh, we played into it yet again, more right-wing bait, assuming that there was, what was going to be the reaction of the state government of Massachusetts or Martha's Vineyard that wouldn't have engendered some sort of that New York Post headline.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is the point was they did it. It's LOL, we owned you. You're owned. It doesn't matter how you respond. You've been owned. They don't give a rebuttal to the people on Jackass. What the fuck? You've been punked. It's over for you. You get Jamie Kennedy comes out and there's a big stamp that goes on your face on screen, and then you're played off with wacky trombone music.
See, I thought that DeSantis got this idea of trafficking humans from his buddy Matt Gaetz, just from his own personal experience. But maybe it was Jamie Kennedy who gave it to him. Well, we have to look at that aspect too.
Have you seen the Jamie Kennedy abortion movie, Dom?
I have not. No.
Oh, it's something. That's a real movie.
They made a Roe versus Wade where Jamie Kennedy plays a Jewish guy. Basically, he just makes women get abortions. A Jewish guy from history, not one they made up.
Well, this may be the product of my Maryland public school quote unquote indoctrination. But if I remember my geography correctly, it was brought up before, Florida does not border a foreign country at all. There's 4 states that border Mexico: Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. New Mexico and California, their state governments wouldn't do shit like this for obvious reasons. Arizona's kind of leaning blue-ish. It's kind of purple at the moment. They elected 2 Democratic senators in the past couple of election cycles. So really, Texas is the only one that's going gung-ho. It's it's the appropriate state for it because this seems to be the Alamo of the fight over immigration.
Yeah, that is the thing that you saw a lot of this week when people are trying to make this anything. This is a really limp story of the week that people were trying to squeeze articles out of. But the thing was like, oh, well, like, I don't agree with DeSantis, but there's no that. Yeah, I saw that repeatedly. There's no like blue border states, which is just that's like fundamentally, not true.
Another thing about DeSantis, though, like, yeah, you're right. Like, he is like he's the plan B right now, because like, and we can get into this in like a little bit when I want to talk about like Lindsey Graham in a little bit, but like, I think the National Republican Party would like nothing better than for Trump to be indicted, or like they want him to go away so that they can defend him and talk about how horrible it is that, you know, like they're being oppressed or whatever. But I don't think they don't want to deal with him anymore. And like, and DeSantis is running the Trump model, but not Trump. We talked about this a little bit on the way of the show. I realized though, I had never really heard Ron DeSantis speak.
Oh,
I always saw
Yeah.
photos of him, and I would read like news clips about him. But like, it wasn't until this recent Martha's Vineyard thing that I just saw a clip someone shared of him talking. And I don't know, how shall I put this? I think it is an impediment to his presidential aspirations, Trump aside. How shall I put this? He's got gay voice. He's got
he sounds
gay
he's a
voice.
little fruit of cake. He sounds like he might be sweet as the bear meat.
Are they doing their job and enforcing the law there? No. They're enforcing the law based on who they like and who they don't like. That is not a republic. Well, it may be. It's a banana republic when that happens. So here's the thing.
And he's also short as well.
And
So,
round. He's like grown up Cartman.
He's under 6 feet tall, so I think that puts a damper in his presidential ambitions.
All those reasons, the fact that he is just this goofy looking, zero charisma politician who is where he is and is famous and is a celeb strictly because he's governor of Florida, and he can do things like send the migrants to Massachusetts to own the libs. That's why he's famous. It has nothing to do with his actual appeal. That means he is totally at the whim of the party, at the whim of the media, in a way that Trump will always be free of. And he can't do anything constructive with that because it's just his pure ego, but it's still something that cannot be fully accounted for. Whereas DeSantis, he has assimilated the Republican Party psychically so that there is like a continuity of interest between the two. Whereas Trump does not have that. And they want to get a guy that powerful off the fucking field.
You did see where he was fangirling over Leonard Skinner some months back, where the two surviving brothers, they did that song about how great it was having a governor like Ron DeSantis. I think the song was called Sweet Florida or something like that. It was kind of an update of Sweet Home Alabama. And it was like, it was a really cringe song. It was a really bad follow-up to Sweet Home Alabama. It's like when they made like Airplane 2. Like, it didn't have the writers of the original Airplane. It didn't have Leslie Nielsen, which is why it sucked. And that was
it did have Sonny Bono though.
Oh, okay. Well, I take another Republican. Wait a minute. See what they're trying to do? They're trying to get conservative politics back into pop culture. Even then.
Do you think that Sonny Bono would have voted to impeach Trump like after January 6th? Not for like Lev Parnas,
that's an interesting
but like January 6th.
I could see him maybe being a Pelosi or I could see him being a Lynn Cheney style Republican. Yeah. In Palm Springs. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, just for DeSantis's gay voice, I do want to like defend him and this concept, right? I don't think it's gay voice. Like, I don't know. Pejoratively, maybe, perhaps. But I think that like that sort of like up talky run on sentence way that he talks, that's just like the American upper middle class accent. If you were born after like 1973.
That's a good point. That's true.
Which is its own problem for him. You know,
he's faking. He's a faker. At the end of the day, he's a faker. And that is the thing that Trump exposes, but only Trump exposes it. If he's off the field, then there's nobody to draw the contrast. But that, for me, that really does raise the question. Like, if DeSantis gets the nomination somehow, I think he's honestly a worse candidate for them than Trump would have been. Because as much as Trump has like a big millstone around his neck, people know they still see him sort of as like separate from the party of like the Republican Party as such. DeSantis would have none of that. He would just have to stand for the party nude before the people. And I think that would turn some significant percentage of people off.
Tom, you mentioned that Ron DeSantis, he just appeared with the surviving members of Leonard Skinner, and they did a song for him, like "Sweet Home Jacksonville" or something like that.
Sweet Florida was the name of the song.
Sweet Florida. Okay, if you're talking about people I'd like to see put on a plane again, it's the surviving members of Leonard Skinner, folks.
Well, you were talking about DeSantis being the plan B for Trump. You know who would like to plan B Ron DeSantis? Charlie Crist, his Democratic opponent for governor of Florida.
How do you like?
Yeah.
How do you like Tan Charlie's chances?
I mean, Florida is one of those states that's just an absolute anathema. Like we were expecting the big blue wave in 2020 because of all the dumb shit that Trump did over the last 4 years and how reckless he was at handling the pandemic. And then it was just as close as it ever could be. And then we're in Maryland, we're coming off of an 8-year stint of having a Republican governor because we all took it for granted that his 2014 Democratic opponent, Anthony Brown, was going to win because he was leading in just about every single poll by 10 points. And then that was 2014, of course, when Democrats just got creamed across the board. And, the Maryland governor's mansion was that way. So I've learned to give up election predicting and just making really snarky, sometimes rude and quasi-offensive jokes about him.
Amen, brother. That's what we're all about. Yeah. I do think it is something amazing. And really, if you want to understand the Democratic Party in the last 20 years, you can't get better example than the fact that Charlie Crist has already been the Republican governor of Florida. And now he's running to be the Democrat after just like being spit out of one party and then like digested by the other one.
Is it the fact that that's the sign of the way that the Democratic Party is becoming too moderate? Or is it just the fact that the Republican Party is become so batshit? Like you had Charlie Crist now running as a Democrat. You had Arlen Specter switching to Democrat his last couple years in the Senate. You had like Lincoln Chafee, who was the last
moderate Republican.
Yeah. Outside of Susan Collins. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing is, people want to put it one or the other. They want to say it's the Democrats' fault for becoming too moderate. It's the Republicans' fault for being extreme. These two things are feed into one another. They can't be disconnected from one another. They are mutually reinforcing, and both sides seeks the other to do that. Like the Democrats want the Republicans to be extreme. They're literally underwriting their extremist candidates because they know that it's to their advantage. And then the Democrats, because they have a different relationship to their base, where they can't give in to the base's actual demands because it goes in conflict with like their owners, the actual party's owners' interests. They have to instead try to moderate and be the less gross alternative to the bipartisan consensus that we are going to dispossess the poorest among us. There's no two ways about it. And if you're near the bottom, you're going to get closer. And if you're in the middle, you're going to fall. And that's just the way things are. And that's both parties agree to that. And the only question is how are we going to culturally process it? And then they move around, but it's all because they have that unbreakable bipartisan deal that we just have to be party to and horrifyingly observe.
And if you keep the status quo in place, the way it is now, then that's really how the both sides can go out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Republican Party as it is now is like 1,000 times worse than any problems that the Democratic Party is having now, because the Democratic Party, their candidates aren't running to say, we're going to overturn elections. That is right. The Republicans' only platform is that when we get control of state government, we're going to make it easy for Trump to win. They've all but said that's their goal.
It's true. But the problem is that anything you do to help the Democrats who are in this situation, the thing that checks them, like that's the deal. Everything that helps them as a party furthers the goals of the Republicans. I mean, the Republicans are where they are and are as dangerous they are because of what the Democrats have done in power, how the Democrats run the country and how they run their party. Because the Republicans and the Democrats are playing game theory. They're playing strategy the whole time. They have like an end condition they'd like to seek, but they understand that the game is basically just negotiating. But they react to each other's actions. And the Republicans will advance their interests where there's no resistance. And the Democrats are conditioned at the top to give in to any Republican resistance as a strategy. Oh, okay, we retreat here to fix it over here. For every working class vote we lose, we gain 2 suburbans, that thing. And that literally destroys them. And they can't operate any other way. Their candidates can only advance that agenda. So it's like, that's terrifying because it means there's no party standing between us and the Republicans. They just have to step through the door. But then we have to ask, okay, then what is there? And it sounds cringe to say, but it's literally us. We have to, like, getting rid of faith in the Democratic Party does not mean getting rid of hope in anything. It means reinvesting, trying to reinvest that hope in something else, something more real than this Potemkin structure that is part of the machine that is destroying us.
I would agree with you to a certain extent, but then you also have to take into account the fact that no matter how many times Democrats will go ahead and try to meet the Republicans halfway, it was just like when they passed the Affordable Care Act. If you look at the Affordable Care Act, that was basically the biggest giveaway to private insurance companies and to the private sector, like in American history that they've ever accomplished. And it was basically the Newt Gingrich plan of the mid 90s. So they went ahead and went beyond the 50-yard line to go ahead and try and get Republicans on board, and not one of them supported. So I mean, it is difficult. I mean, Democrats are way too nice about this kind of thing. I mean, I can definitely sense the frustration with the party. And as someone who's been involved in Democratic politics for years, I pretty much like everything you said in terms of the structure of the party and the way they operate is true. But the resistance they're meeting is a brick wall. So, yeah. and then so that they're only.
Well, the reason that they can't overcome the brick wall, like, because it's like, they hit a brick wall. Okay, that's when you fight. You know, it's like that's supposed to be the beginning of conflict, is when you hit a brick wall. Like the compromise comes after you've tested strength, but the Democrats never do that. And that's because they are required structurally to disempower and disengage their base, whereas the Republicans are totally aligned around the alliance between their interests and their base's interests, which means that their base can always be deferred to and energized. That is an entire force that the Democrats cannot challenge. They have an arm tied behind their back ever since 2009, when Obama intentionally destroyed the incredible grassroots machinery that had powered his presidency or his presidential campaign. The Obama for America team, it was demobilized. They detonated it from within because that structure was now would have been a hindrance to their agenda in power, because it could have been used against them, because there is no alignment between the base of the Democrats and their party leadership that the Republicans have. So they will always be at that disadvantage, which means they always will seek the compromise before a test of strength, because they don't think they don't have the horses for it, which is why, even though the Republicans were actually kind of scared in January 6th, you could tell, like, the top level Republicans were looking like they were going to blink, but the Democrats put the fucking brakes on, because they were afraid that if they actually did anything, then the whole game's over. They're terrified of it because they have no strength to draw on if it comes to that.
Well, I was talking about, like, what are some potential roadblocks for the Republicans, or like who may be working to undermine the Republicans in the midterms. I bring this up because I want to talk about Lindsey Graham's proposal of a federal national abortion ban.
Wow, baffling, honestly.
At 15 weeks, and it's just like, okay, look, and I'm with you on this, Tom. It's just, election predicting is a mug's racket. Like, just like don't look at any of these polls. None of them make sense. Like, it's just like, who the fuck knows? But when I saw Lindsey Graham out there at a press conference proposing a national 15-week abortion ban.
And here you are introducing a nationwide 15-week ban. I'm wondering how you square those two statements.
Pretty easy. After they introduced the bill to define who they are, I thought it'd be nice to introduce a bill to define who we are. So I'll look forward to the debate. I'll look forward to the vote. If we take back the House and the Senate, I can assure you we'll have a vote on our bill. If the Democrats are in charge, I don't know if we'll ever have a vote on our bill.
I have to say my first thought was, despite the fact that like he used to be an anti-Trump guy that became an obsequious toady for Trump, I gotta think on some level, or at least like I think it's not beyond the realm of possibility that like Lindsey, Mitch McConnell, people like that, they're putting Lindsey out there to do this national abortion ban shit, particularly to tank the Republicans' chances of what should be a fucking layup for them. Because
when you look at the leaks coming out of the Senate, the Democratic committee, the Senate campaign committee, all those leaks about Peter Thiel and McConnell fighting over who's going to fund Ohio and Arizona and shit. Yeah, they are absolutely sandbagging this. By the way, McConnell also sandbagged Trump before the election in 2020. Like, he is trying to beat this thing down any way possible, and I think Lindsey is absolutely on board with that.
Because if you're wheeling out, okay, first of all, if this midterm election becomes a referendum on abortion, like that's the worst thing that could happen for the Republicans.
Fucked. That's the only way they could really blow this.
If it's a referendum on Biden and the Democratic Party and like inflation or gas prices or something like that, the Democrats they're fucked.
The Brandonization of the American economy.
But if they're wheeling out Lindsey fucking Graham to tell the women of America that it's time to vote on a 15-week abortion ban, it's isn't there one Republican pro-life woman that they could get out to talk about this shit instead of Lindsey Graham? And I think like
a Republican with kids.
If the Republicans fail to take the Senate, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be one of these things that will demand a reckoning within the party, and then like the party leaders will be like, okay, now it's time. Now we have a cudgel. We have something to like beat down, like the MAGA wing of the party or whatever. So, like, I mean,
there is one thing I will say though. I'm becoming more bearish on the Democrats in the Senate even. Because I'm kind of wondering if there might be a bit of a peak here for the Democrats, and that they peak maybe a little too soon. Because the thing is, the Brandon economy is still going to be going strong in November. Whereas, as much as abortion has obviously changed the playing field in races until now, it will still be that much farther away. And yes, Graham putting this in there certainly raises the salience. But it's still something that's sort of been worked out a little bit further. Maybe it becomes less dominant. I don't know. The polls are looking, who knows? Who knows about polls anymore? I don't know. And I kind of, at this point, assume any poll that isn't like a right-wing one is also just unconsciously skews Democrat. So I don't know.
I do. Going back a little bit to the leaks, the most salient thing to me, not necessarily like the Thiel McConnell leaks, but like the leaks about Rick Scott going on vacation and doing a shitty job with the NRSCC, like those were like, 2 months early, which like, I don't know, maybe portends, as Matt said, like peaking early, because usually you get those kind of leaks from like the Senate re-election committee when, it's a week before and they know they're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have the opposite opinion on polls. I think like polls in general can skew Republican. There are some states that are like very difficult to poll, Wisconsin being a great example, where they skew like who fucking knows. But I don't know, like, okay, like it could be a Brandon referendum. That's very possible. But I don't see like a galvanizing force for Republicans outside of like the special master or not having the special master.
Oh boy, the special master, a real game changer there.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, that is a very interesting theory about Lindsey Graham, though, that they sent him out to tank him because, okay, Tom, you brought up the point about how Republicans used to be more normal, so to speak. I think we probably disagree on what that normalness meant. Like, okay, for me, the normalness meant like they were a freakish party still, but like, you can agree on things like funding the government more or less. You can agree on like how many weapons we'll send to Syria, that sort of thing.
Violence against women, the Violence Against Women Act. They used to agree on that. They can't even do that anymore.
Well, that was what, like 45 years ago? I don't know. Like that did like that is an example. I don't know.
I think they last agreed to do it. They last agreed to do it in like 2006 or something like that. I know George W. Bush was still president at the time when they last passed that for renewal. Yeah,
40 years ago. But like, I mean, for a swamp creature like McConnell, that's appealing though, right? Just like not having to like go out there and fucking talk about fusion GPS and holograms.
Well, actually, okay, you talked about we're talking about a referendum. Why Wisconsin, notoriously hard state to poll. I was just before I started recording today. I mean, this is gonna be my segue into the next issue we're talking about. I just saw some speculation earlier today that our own Matt Christman is the most powerful national Wisconsinite. Tom Myers, I think you're definitely in the conversation for most powerful public figure from Maryland, or Marylander. What are people from Maryland called?
Let's see. What word can I say that won't get us kicked off the podcast platforms? Oh my God, we are known for so many things.
What are they called? Are they Marylanders?
Marylanders.
Yeah, you take out a few of and we say we're from Baltimore, Maryland. You take out a few syllables.
I get how that goes. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or around there.
And my niece currently lives in Louisville, Kentucky. So every region has that, yeah.
Okay, well, so Matt Christman, possibly the most powerful public figure who is a native son of Wisconsin. I know he is not a native son of Wisconsin. He is merely revered in the state of Wisconsin. I'm talking, of course, about former Packers quarterback Brett Favre. Brett Favre is, just Matt. I can see the pain in your eyes here. Ooh. Your boy, the old. He
was my boy, the old gunslinger, man. He was like a kid out there.
The old riverboat gambler.
I had some very deep emotional connections to him as a Packer fan in the 90s.
Well, he's currently in a bit of hot water for defrauding about a couple $1 million from the Mississippi's welfare fund.
That state is it's not a civilized country. They fucking run it like a fucking penal colony.
Yeah.
It's like some monstrous
it's like Devil's Island
government from a Herzog movie. It's like one of those Kinski's the governor.
Are you talking Wisconsin or Mississippi?
Okay, they're trying to turn Wisconsin into Mississippi. Yeah. They think they're defending like whiteness, but really they're immiserating everyone. But with this just horrible regime, this group of disgusting good old boys just sucking the state coffers like ticks and distributing it to their awful network of hangers-on and relatives and famous people that they want to impress. Oh, Brett Favre, would you like $1 million?
Okay, it's actually
shucks, thanks. I sure would be obliged.
It's actually $6 million. It's
Jesus Christ. Oh no, wait a minute. No, I think it was $1 million like cash, and then like $6 million for like a soccer facility for his daughter to play in.
A volleyball stadium.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Volleyball stadium for his daughter.
They don't have running fucking water in parts of that state. They don't have like adequate sewage. That there is, I believe it is Mississippi, Jackson, yes, where they do not have drinkable water.
If you turn on the faucet in Jackson, Mississippi right now, like xenomorph blood comes out of it. But
that is directly a result of having a government composed entirely of this cadre of hillbilly psychopaths.
I was going to read here from this is from the Mississippi Free Press. Here it says multiple prosecutors are still examining the facts and making decisions about criminal charges in Mississippi's sprawling welfare scandal that saw millions in funds meant for poor families go instead to wealthy celebrities. The auditor made that revealed dozens of text messages showing how retired NFL star Brett Favre, former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant, and nonprofit leader Nancy New coordinated on procuring welfare funds to finance an $8 million volleyball stadium. New ran the nonprofit Mississippi Community Education Center when it directed $5 million in temporary assistance for needy families to the University of South Mississippi Athletic Foundation, whose board she sat on, to fund the stadium on the Hattiesburg campus. Her nonprofit also directed $1.1 million to Favre for motivational speeches he never delivered.
Have you seen the text messages?
The text messages are great.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's like, it's like,
to be fair though, those probably aren't the worst text messages that Brett Favre has ever sent.
I've seen worse, folks. Everybody remember?
Oh yeah, the text messages.
In both cases, it's like he's trying to like either lose the maximum civil penalty or like go to prison.
It does seem like a death drive.
It's like the text equivalent of wearing a wire. Like not just wearing a wire, but wearing a wire in a way that would get you killed. Like with the text messages,
you're wearing it outside of your shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Like with the text messages with like the dick pics, it's like, oh, by the way, that's my flaccid cock, but it doesn't get that much bigger when it's hard.
He had exchanged like 4 words with this woman.
Yeah,
she's just worked for the Jets. She's like, she sent him a couple text messages. Then he's like, "Hey, penis." Yeah, that is asking to be locked up like a werewolf when he shows up at the police station.
He sends his he sends his cock, after just like, nothing. After not even pleasantries. Like if bit emojis existed at the time, they would have probably sent each other like bitmojis of each other waving and then immediately his cock. But then after that and the voicemails, he's basically, he's like, yeah, that's my soft penis. Doesn't get much bigger. I'm not good at eating pussy. I don't like doing that. And I will be fucking you. Like he's trying to lose his house in a sexual harassment lawsuit. With this, he's just like, he starts out by being like, oh, and no one's going to know that the money was illegally diverted when you pay it to me. By the way, I have full knowledge.
Yeah, no one's ever going to find out about this criminal act I'm committing, are they? And also he's like, I sure did need this. It's like, dude, what? You're not a zillionaire? You need this $1 million? What's wrong with you? What do you spend it on? Wranglers?
Think about where his pension went. Like think about where he put his earnings.
Yeah.
He probably he had a Vicodin addiction, which
that's true. He probably spent all of his money on like a Backdraft theme park, like the movie Backdraft, like in a swamp. Everybody got yellow fever the first season and they had to close.
The Brett Favre text messages, whether it's sending his dick to a masseuse who works for the Jets or to Nancy New.
That's the crazy thing. She was not just a masseuse. She worked in the media department. She was like a face of the franchise person. She was like a show host. The person who could just immediately say, "Hey, Brett Favre sent me his dick," which she did.
It's a masterclass in how not to commit crimes over text messages, or like I feel like you said it'd be like wearing a wire trying to get caught. I would imagine it'd be the equivalent of like walking into a social club run by the Bonanno family with Hassan Piker's mobile streaming apparatus. Where it just has a backpack and like a camera pointed at everyone. But no, the text messages read as follows from Brett Favre. If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? No, we have never had that information publicized. I understand you being uneasy about that, though. Let's see what happens Monday with a conversation with some folks at the Southern. Maybe it will click with them, hopefully. Okay, thanks. We just got off the phone with Phil Bryant. He is on board with us. We will get this done. Awesome. I needed to hear that for sure.
Phew, they were going to break my legs.
Oh, my God.
Also, it's like when you think of going to play volleyball, the last place you think of going to is Mississippi. All right, like I've been to Mississippi once, and the only thing I did there was stop at a place called Huddle House to eat. Those of you who don't know, Huddle House is basically like the white trash cousin of the Waffle House. Like basically the food is so greasy. Like the only reason people would ever want to go to Mississippi would be to get their colon cleansed. Basically, just nonstop eating at Huddle House. And what really pisses me off about this is that, like, I'm from Maryland. Maryland has approximately 10 miles of beach. Mississippi, I just looked this up, has 26 miles of beach. So, like, Mississippi, this place that, stereotypically speaking is a shithole, has more than twice as much beach as Maryland. And that fact alone just aggravates the shit out of me.
Well, if it's any consolation, it's kind of gross beach because there's a lot of oil wells out there in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico. There, a lot of tar balls love to just come up onto the water there. It's not really glamorous.
Tom, did you do a date in Mississippi?
I performed in Western Tennessee, and in an effort to go ahead and just cross certain states off my map to say I visited them, I visited Mississippi and Alabama. So that was just, okay, I've been there, knock those off, I can now die somewhat happy.
after having checked Alabama and Mississippi off your bucket list, but Tom, you're something of a road warrior. I mean, do you have any favorite places to perform or worst places to perform? I mean, where's the ideal Tom Myers comedy venue? What was the worst one you've done?
Oh, the ideal ones, some of the favorite places I performed are just along the East Coast. I've done Boston, New York City, Philly, Baltimore, and DC, of course, because I live there. Those are good markets for me. I've performed there a lot in recent years, and the crowds have always been wonderful. And Las Vegas, it's one of my favorite places to visit and perform.
Any really bad places though?
Oh, I would tell you the bad places, but I would literally have to draw a map to tell you where they are, just because the towns are so small and boring. Denny's closes at 9 p.m. It's that boring of a town. That's how you know when it's a real shithole place.
Yeah. Here's what I'm gonna say. Oh yeah. So I didn't know this. The interesting I guess angle to the Brett Favre, this massive misappropriation of millions of dollars that are supposed to be for welfare, for poor people, is going to build a volleyball stadium. All of this is it seems illegal. The idea that someone called Nancy New would be the middleman for the appropriation of welfare funds, but actually this goes back to the Clinton era welfare reform, which allowed for something called block grants to essentially allow nonprofits to money that is appropriated for state welfare through these block grants through the nonprofit sector could be theoretically, if you create a billboard or a TV commercial about teen pregnancy or something that could go towards state welfare rather than the food stamps or just a welfare check or something like that.
And all that money goes to companies owned by people that are part of the network of good old boys who runs the state. So it is a way to directly transfer money that was going to the poorest citizens in the state to this rentier class of fucking bloodsuckers. And then the ensuing poverty that increases is then blamed on the people who have had their money literally taken from them by these fucking parasites.
Yeah, I compared Mississippi to those Central European states where they build a statue of the guy who's been president for 40 years, and there's a day where
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, Kyrgyzstan.
There's a giant copy of the book he wrote just spinning in a circle in the town square.
Yeah, there'll be one day a year where if your kid's born that day, they have to name it after the president. But those places are they're better than Mississippi. They do have water. They do. I mean, they do. Yeah, they have plumbing.
I mean, they have a lesser
airport
contrast to make it so stark and horrifying because there's water just next door. It's a little different than when you're in the middle of. I think it's a good comparison. Is also fucking Orban's Hungary. Dumbasses like Rod Dreher clapping like seals at the prospect at the epic civilization victory that'll come on the back of the Orban model. The Orban model is just Mississippi with EU subsidies. You fucking dumbass. You get rid of those EU subsidies, and over time, what happens? You get the same fucking conditions you have in Mississippi. Congratulations. And the whole time you were fighting to maintain the civilization. Good job. You sure kicked George Soros's ass. Meanwhile, your actual political economy is just Orban's disgusting followers distributing every fucking scrap of patronage capable of an otherwise dying economic order that you refuse to fucking do anything about because you're beholden to the last rentier scumbags who run the machine that has no actual economic base because you are vestigial.
Yeah, no, it's very, very important to maintaining traditional Western civilization or really any civilization, drinkable water.
It's helpful.
It's very hard to have a civilization without fresh water.
Very weird to expect people to adhere to some abstract standard that qualifies them for your consideration when that is what they get from civilization. It's a lot to ask. It's a big leap.
I don't know. In Maryland, we would be very happy if they got rid of our clean water and just replaced it with beer and whiskey. Like, we could survive with just.
It's like, talk about the Middle Ages. Yeah, that's how everyone drank back then. Well, because drinking water could kill you, so everyone was.
Yeah, we're getting back there.
They were sloshed. They were fucking faced off mead all day.
I mean, in certain parts of Maryland, we're happy with beer, bread, eating meat right off of the bone, and wenches. Like, they're perfectly happy with that.
It's that Middle European peasant lifestyle, drinking small beer all day, keeping a pleasant buzz on. That's describing basically the entirety of the state of Wisconsin. A little bit of a buzz at all times, occasionally really tying one on, and eating meat and cheese the entire time.
Well, yeah, you had like breakfast beer. You'd have beer that's like 1% ABV, and that's what you drink when you wake up.
Yeah, you get stable, and then you just run it up as the day goes on.
Well, that's your Mick Ultra. You start with your Mick Ultra, and then you work your way on up to the craft beers for dessert.
And the thing is, that was the same lifestyle as like the people that these people descended from, which is the peasantry, the yeomanry of Central Europe, is that they would drink beer all day long, low ABV beer all day for hydration instead of water. They still do it, only they're not working on a farm anymore. They're just sitting around mostly watching TV, I guess. I don't know.
Still stuck with the same chattel status that their ancestors had so many hundred years ago.
It's true. They were free for a little bit. They got that yeoman for American freedom for a few generations, but boom, fell back into the proletariat. Everyone's trying to scramble out of it one way or the other. All well shit-faced.
Well, okay. We're talking about drinking beer. We're talking about drinking water. This provides a perfect segue out of politics and into the frontiers of science, and what I regard as probably the most important science news of this year or this decade. Ready for this, gentlemen? They have finally closed the books on this one. Scientists have confirmed squirt is pee.
Wow.
I'm sorry for anyone out there who thought otherwise, but I'm just reading the headline here from the New Scientist. Female emission at orgasm confirmed to be release of fluid from the bladder.
Wow, this is a bombshell.
The squirting that some women are known to experience at orgasm has been confirmed to be a liquid that is expelled from the bladder, helping to clear up a long-running mystery. This is done by a 2014 study led by French gynecologist Samuel Salama, now at the Poissy Saint-Germain and Lai Hospital in Paris, suggested that squirting
involves, he's a Frenchman,
the expulsion of urine from the bladder, since ultrasounds on 7 women who could squirt showed their bladders were full just before squirting and empty directly after. So, honestly, this is like, this is more important. I mean,
that's great news for R. Kelly.
Is it?
I mean, not anymore.
I think he's in prison for life now. He's been convicted several times. I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything with this information.
Maybe they could Shawshank a woman a squirter in.
You know what? I take back all of my previously expressed skepticism of the scientist, religious faith of the current moment. Maybe they can figure everything out. Maybe everything is solvable if they can figure this one out. Wow.
I don't know. Okay. So like before, when people just thought it was like, I don't know, like some type of like syrupy release that came from wherever. I don't know where they thought it came from in the woman's body, but like
that was always really the compelling question for me is, well, what is it then?
Yeah. What is, yeah.
You can't just leave that in the air. Come on.
Yeah.
It's like dark matter here. What?
Well, it's not like, okay, well, like someone would squirt and your bed sheets are just soaked in it. You're like, oh, well, it's not pee, so I'm just going to like marinate in it. I'm not going to like clean these sheets. It's like fine.
Just put a towel down. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it was always like gross.
It's not. Oh, come on. I don't. Speak for yourself, Felix. I don't think it's gross
somebody
at all.
Doesn't want to get wet.
I don't think it's gross at all.
Someone's on that dry shit.
I think it's quite impressive.
I mean, it can be gross, but like like it's cool. The ones that can do that for sure. Well,
like,
I mean, yeah, if you could make like it wouldn't really be an Arnold Palmer, but like if you could kiss like while coming,
Arnold.
I don't want to know I don't want to know what the T component would be made of. No. No.
It's cool, but it's just like it wasn't like, oh, it's just water. No one thought it was bad. No one thought it was like fine. Besides
you. Well, yeah. Whatever. This French gynecologist, can we give him the Nobel Prize? I think like what they're doing, this is way more important and impressive to me than anything that they're doing at the Large Hadron Collider.
Put a squirt in the Large Hadron Collider. That's how we figure this shit out.
Yeah. And you know what?
So fucking disappointing. The Hadron Collider. They haven't done anything with it.
I don't know, unless you buy the theory that they shifted us into a parallel reality or in 2016.
That's the parallel reality. Like slightly like weirder Republican becomes president.
It's true. Yes.
Oh no. Yeah, we're in a fucking totally crazy universe. The UK left the EU. Wow. It's fucking exciting.
No, it's like that show Sliders. Like those were never interesting.
That's true.
What are you talking about? Slider? In Sliders, sometimes like the sky was purple.
Yeah, exactly. It's like remember that movie The One?
Oh yeah, with Jet Li.
Where Jet Li like hunts down his parallel dimension people. The only thing they ever do is like they have somebody say President Gore. Whoa, you're blowing my mind here.
This is actually hopeful news to many people out there. I mean, to many women out there, because look, if squirt is just pee and it's just like an emission from the bladder, if you have a bladder, you can squirt. So just try harder. Get your squirt up.
Yeah, go for
practicing. Yeah, just go for it.
Get at it.
I now have a new life goal. Try harder with squirting. If I can do that, then I can really die happy. Visiting Mississippi and Alabama be damned.
So yeah, an age-old question finally put to bed. We always kind of expected this was the case, though. I mean, come on. It was just people like,
come on.
I think it was the odds-on favorite in the clubhouse.
Yeah. All right. Well, but before we wrap up today, Tom, I want to thank you for joining us. But before we wrap up today, I would be remiss in doing this because look, we're all part of the brethren of podcast money getters out there. So obviously people who listen to our show are probably familiar with you through our show, and then our sort of our sister program, Come Town, now the Adam Friedland Show. And I understand. So I'm just going to put it out there. What can we do to squash the beef between you and Come Town / the Adam Friedland Show? Is that possible? Is there a way that you would appear on the Adam Friedland Show as a guest?
Honestly, I'm so focused on my own podcast at this point and just working on that I've kind of gotten rid of any beef on my end years ago. Just because how difficult it is to all the work that goes into just to prepare topics. That's pretty much what I do. And then I usually take breaks around the Christmas and the summer holidays. And even then I find that incredibly taxing just because I write, produce, and edit the whole podcast myself. I bring guests on and assemble my panel together. So, honestly, I'm happy just doing what I'm doing right now.
But just not from that's good to hear. But let's say not from an entertainment perspective, because you knew these guys for a while, before we did. We've known them for I've known them, some of them 10 years almost at this point. But you guys were doing comedy back in Maryland. Just for that, would you at least be on neutral terms with them? Would you at least be civil with them?
Just given the fact that they've completely misrepresented some stuff I've said, completely lied about stuff I've said that made me sound bad, and gone after and just completely disparaged friends of mine, the answer is no. I've known Nick Mullen since he started some 15 years ago. I was already a touring comic when he started. And whenever I would see him perform, I would always just get the impression that before each set, he would just drink an entire gallon of paint. And that was, I've always just tried to stay away from him even then. So it predated the wide world of podcasts.
Well, there's a reason I never became a diplomat.
Yeah, well, so I mean, because I know they really want you on the Adam Friedland show. It doesn't sound like that's probably going to happen, but I had to do my best to extend the olive branch. Maybe they should do that themselves personally. But if I could be a go between here, but I respect your position, and certainly there's no beef between Tom Myers and Tom Myers versus the rest of the world and Chapo, just because we happen to be good friends with Cumtown, but like I said, I had to do it. I had to extend the olive branch. But, you mentioned you're spending a lot of time, preparing, scheduling, writing for Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. New season coming up. For the listeners, what can people expect from Tom Myers versus the rest of the world? What you got brewing? What do you got cooking up?
Oh, we have a new season. We have the return of some of our regular panelists, Jeff Heisen, Abby Mello, Davine Kurd, Gina Brown, Michelle Wojciechowski. I'm looking to get some new guests in. We discuss the various topics of current events, politics, various social issues. It's a fun discussion. Like it's some comedy, some part cable news, panel discussion show, and then we go over video segments, clips from the news, and analyze the hell out of them and just skewer some of them to death. And it's a fun show. We're available all over on your podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, all those good sites. And the podcast itself will air Thursdays starting September 29th on ipmnation.com. /live, and then Monday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern on a Harford County-based website called Odyssey Radio. Give a listen to both. Help show some love for those various podcast networks.
And do you have any dates coming up?
I do. I am going to be in Philadelphia Saturday, December 3rd at the Black Cat Tavern. December 3rd, I just wanted to clarify. Friday, December 16th, Front Street Station in Northumberland, Pennsylvania. And the following night, I'll be in Hanover, Pennsylvania at the Church of Satire. You can find all dates, as the schedule is updated quite frequently, at Tom Myers, spelled MYERS, .us. My socials are all on there as well, so you can follow me, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever. Yep.
Tom Myers, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and please give your cat Buddy a little little scratch on the head.
I already did it about 10 minutes ago when he walked over, but I'll do it again.
Yeah, give him another one. Give him another one. Send him Will says hi. All right, gentlemen.
Likewise, yours.
I will.
Give some to yours from me. Yep.
Okay, gentlemen. Till next time. Bye bye.